I went to TJ when it was a junior senior high school, so probably none of you even remember that it was a junior senior high school, but that's where it started its life. I then went to Colorado College, where I got a degree in fine arts with drama concentration, but I also had a double major in English, and so I went to the University of Northern Colorado and got my master's in theater there. Taught a year. My mentor in the costuming department got married, and I taught a year there. And from there I went to the Chuck Wagon Dinner Playhouse, now burned down, in Greeley. At Chuck Wagon there was a group of people who'd come in from Nebraska, and we did a couple of shows there at the Chuck Wagon, and they said, hey, let's go do a show in San Francisco. And it was like, great, let's do that. So we packed up in about 3 or 4 cars, and we drove to San Francisco, and found a place to live, and went to a small church off of Polk Street in San Francisco. And this is pre-AIDS days, so San Francisco was a huge mecca for a lot of Midwestern gay men in particular, and which was a lot part of our group. And we walked into a church, and they said, sure, you can use our church for your theater as long as you sing in the choir every Sunday. And so we made up about a third of the congregation, and we would go to choir rehearsal, and we would sing in the choir on Sunday. And in New York, I was a company manager. I was very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. I was a company manager for about 10 years. I did the original Little Shop of Horrors at the Orpheum Theater. I did the original Betrayal, in the New York production of Betrayal, a variety of shows off and on Broadway. And so I was a company manager for 10 years. In the meantime, I got married, had 2 children, decided I would retire or downsize to nonprofit theater. I got a job at Ford's Theater. I was at Ford's Theater for about 2.5 years when my kids were little. And I was a little too late forward for Ford's Theater. And it was really not, the nonprofit world didn't, after being in commercial theater, and I didn't really feel I was that aggressive, was it was just not a good match. And I was there 2.5 years. I learned a lot. I went back to New York to become a general manager. And so it took me about 3 or 4 years to begin working with David Stone, the lead producer of Wicked, and he was doing off-Broadway shows. So we did off-Broadway shows, and we did very successful off-Broadway shows. We did Full Gallop, we did Vagina Monologues, we did Fully Committed. In the meantime, I took over I Love You, Perfect No Change, which has had great runs here in Denver. I did De La Guarda. So I started general managing co-general managing with David. And then I began to general manage on my own a little bit. And by the time that we did Man of La Mancha with Brian Stokes Mitchell, which was a wonderful production, but never quite got the traction. It was a year or so after 9/11. The city was still kind of in theatrical transition at that point. In the meantime, I had fallen in love with a show called Batboy the Musical, and for the first time I was compelled to produce. So I produced Batboy the Musical in 2001. Unfortunately, we were just about to see our way clear at Labor Day 2001. We shut down at 9/11, and we reopened about 6 weeks later. We ran for about another 8 weeks, but we lost all momentum. And the little shows in New York just could not survive. There were 4 shows that I was working on that were running at 9/11, and Batboy was the only one that didn't survive. I Love You survived, De La Guarda survived, and Vagina Monologues all survived, because we had a basis of an audience that kept coming to the theater. Basically, we opened our own theatrical office, 321 Theatrical Management, and we've been doing that for about 10 years. And Wicked has been our mainstay. We are actually opening 4 new Wickeds this fall around the world, where we advise. We are the people that keep our general management office. We make sure that the creative content of Wicked is consistent around the world. In the meantime, I found a little show called Peter and the Starcatcher, which had been produced by Disney, commissioned by Disney as a musical, produced by Disney at La Jolla on a Page to Stage and at New York Theater Workshop. And we went to, I put a coalition of producers together. We went to talk to Tom Schumacher at Disney. And he said, you know, this was supposed to be a musical. He said, we don't really do plays. He said, we don't really know how to do plays. I said, well, we've done Spelling Bee and we've done Next to Normal. As managers, I think that's the right model for Peter and the Starcatcher. And so we got a very passionate group of investors and producers behind us, and we brought Peter to Broadway in March of 12. And about 6 weeks later, the Tony nominations came out. 9 Tony nominations. So it is, if not the most Tony-nominated play, it's some debate when people talk about it, is one of the most Tony-nominated plays ever. And we won 5, all the designers won Tonys, which I really think is a shout-out to our director and our writer, who did not win Tonys because the directors were beat up by Mike Nichols and the author was beat up by Clybourne Park. So very worthy opponents. So I had talked to, because I'm from Denver, every time I come to Denver, I see my mom, I see Randy, and we say, when are we going to work together? What are we going to find? It's fine, because I do come out and visit the shows that we have managing. And when Randy saw Peter and Starcatcher, he said, I think we should do it. And I said, that would be great. And that was the beginning of this collaboration.